How we doing, everybody? It's your guy Wardy here. It's currently July 3rd, 2025 at the time of this video dropping, and this comes after the Amazons finally secured themselves a victory, splitting their doubleheader there against the Brewers by a final score of 7-3 in a victorious fashion there for the nightcap after dropping the day cap there by a final score of 7-2. We broke down all the highs and the lows and everything in between from last night's games here for you guys in our post-game coverage, so please make sure to check it out after watching this video should you have interest, because now, folks, in our Big Mets update segment, we have a lot to get into and a lot of positives. We're going to first kickstart the show by getting into the latest surprise call-up for David Stearns of this Mets team, that being in right-handed pitcher Rico Garcia. Garcia is a pickup when the Mets first made over a year ago. I was quite a fan of. I still am today. And we're going to break down Garcia, his game, the pros, the cons, what you need to know about him. Is he going to be a mainstay for the Mets pitching staff? Is he going to be out of here in 24 hours? And everything in between from there. We're also going to get into the key news, not only just in Francisco Lindor now, obviously representing this Mets team well in this year's All-Star game, but a lot to break down on the health front, including guys in Manaea, the Samoan Southpaw, Kodai Senga, Mr. Ghost Fork himself there, Brooks Raley, who we know is a dominant Southpaw option for this Mets team, Jesse Winker, who's trying to bring not only flair but power back into this Mets lineup, as well as plenty other topics. And then as we wrap up the show, everybody, we'll get into our latest prospect reports going from Port St. Lucie all the way up to AAA Syracuse, because while he's not a prospect, there are some great things happening with Francisco Alvarez right now and the adjustments that he's making with his swing that we'll get into further breakdown for each and every one of you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. That is Wardy's latest Big Mets update segment. Thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on as you guys first chime in. Also, thank you guys for checking out our awesome sponsors at SeatGeek that have you covered on the ticketing front. Simply head over to SeatGeek by utilizing our promo code Wardy10, link down below in the description. That way you too get 10% off your next Mets ticket purchase, comedy show ticket purchase, concert show tickets, you name it. SeatGeek has you covered, as well as our amazing sponsor, everybody, and Moo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Hey Mets fans, if you love diving deep into the numbers like WAR or ERA, then you absolutely are going to love what today's video sponsor Moo brings to your investing game. Think Moneyball, but this time for your portfolio. I'm beyond excited to share that Moo, the proud trading platform of the New York Mets, is here to level up your investing. Moo is a global trading platform currently serving over 25 million users in markets like the United States, Canada, Singapore, and Japan. Whether you're just starting out or if you're a more seasoned trader, Moo's app and desktop platform offers commission-free trading on stocks, ETFs, and options, no contract fees either. So plus, you get premium tools, guys, whether it's going to be the institutional grade analytics, Morningstar research, and analyst ratings, all free for funded users. And right now, Moo is doubling down for Mets fans. Sign up through my exclusive link down below, make a qualifying deposit, and get up to, yes, 60 free stocks, plus not one but two Mets Suite tickets. Not to mention, Moo customers can get free tickets to all Monday home games at Citi Field, and who knows, you may even see me at a game. And with zero commissions and zero contract fees on stock and ETF options, you keep more of your wins. Are you guys ready to trade smarter? Download Moo now and swing for the financial fences. And shout out once more to Moo for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. Alright folks, now to hop right into this, let's first begin our discussion today with a completely miscellaneous topic from the following, but it is important, and it regards Frankie Montas, because as we know, Montas was nothing short of batting practice the last time he was out there for the Mets in his latest start, and this came after what was a rock-solid 5 shutout outing against the Atlanta Braves for his season debut. So the great question was, what changed so terribly about Montas that made him go from looking so sharp to looking like a guy that you can't even throw out there? Well, according to Montas, and latest reports with SNY's Andy Martino, it is stated that he was tipping his pitches, specifically his splitty. So we'll see what happens going forward, as he's not only remedied that, he said, but he's confident that the Mets are going to get the best out of him going forward now. So again, time will tell on that front in the case of Montas, who's now next slated to pitch in the Subway Series against his former New York Yankees, in which he didn't have all that much success with and was injury riddled, kind of similar to his start here with the New York Mets. But hopefully how things started is certainly not how things are going to end with Montas and his Mets tenure this season. Because whether you guys like it or not, there's a reason as to why David Stearns decided to bring in Montas at $6 million less on $34 million over a 2-year span versus initially signing 2 years of $40 million with Luis Severino when he approached the Mets before then signing for $64 million across 3 years with a 2027 option there that we saw with the A's. And speaking of Luis Severino, everybody, be on the lookout because on my Wardy MLB YouTube channel that many of you guys know by now, it's, again, instead of looking up WardyNYM, just look up Wardy MLB, look me up, and you'll see I'm dropping a new video today, and it might have dropped already depending on when you're watching this, on how the Sacramento A's top player, the most expensive player in the A's organizational history, absolutely hates the A's and wants nothing to do with them. I present to you Luis Severino, what's currently going on, the drama there with the A's. And that's why he broke down Severino as a Mets possibility, and we will continue to do so in future content. So let me know, guys, are you for or against Luis Severino potentially returning this Mets team via trade by the deadline if something can be had with that contract? Again, hard to envision a team like the A's to actually eat any of that contract, but they're really so desperate and are looking forward to trading him away, then, you know, push comes to shove, you're going to have to at least do something there. So to be determined on that front. But to reel back in, everybody, let's get into the latest call-up for this New York Metropolitan team, as is headlined by a veteran right-hander that I've been a fan of really since the Mets first acquired him. But this is a guy that I understand a lot of people, especially in this fan base, currently don't know. So without further ado, everybody, let me present to you what you guys need to know now about veteran right-hander and Rico Garcia. Because Rico Garcia gets the call for this Mets team. And mind you, Rico Garcia has not had, you know, the most dominant year by any stretch that we have seen in the minor leagues. Rico actually gets the call after posting right now just over a 4-year ERA that we've seen thus far in the minor leagues for AAA Syracuse. So why would the Mets go out of their way to call up Rico Garcia? Well, the immediate reaction is that Rico is a guy who comes in and gives them immediate relief for their bullpen when they've had guys taxed. You know, we expect the corresponding move here to be either one of the Brandon Woodell's, the Blade Tidwells, or someone along those lines that pitched this past day in the Mets doubleheader. I did find it interesting that the Mets did have called up Austin Warren initially as their 27th man, and I like Austin Warren too. I think that he is a sneaky fit for this Mets bullpen at times, but he might be, you know, the corresponding move, and he was only up here as the doubleheader, and that was about that. Actually, maybe he can't be the corresponding move if he was the extra man to begin with. Regardless, everybody, we'll find out what the corresponding move is, but it's likely going to be one of those arms that we just talked about, but actually did see game action this past day in the Mets doubleheader. But Rico, who hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball since the 2023 season, was with the Oakland Athletics at the time, as you guys can see here, as well as he's been with the Orioles and others, and he had a horrendous campaign during that stretch, pushing a 9 ERA and 11 innings and a 8.79 expected ERA, a K to walk ratio that wasn't overly sexy. So why should we at all be looking forward to Rico Garcia here? And the reason why we should look forward to Rico Garcia is because he's been stored in the Mets farm for a little bit now over this past year plus, and he absolutely has sneaky stuff. Now, mind you, Garcia is not a guy that I expect here to light the world on fire, but he's had success in the past what you've seen, including, again, great stuff that we've seen in the minor leagues when the Mets initially picked him up there that we saw, if I'm not mistaken, with the Washington Nationals organization, but don't quote me on that. But to expand further here on Rico, as you guys can see, these are his percentiles to the left. This is what he's currently doing in AAA based off of all eligible pitchers that we've seen in the minor leagues, and this comes courtesy of two different types of people. To the left is a graphic from Pitch Profiler that you guys can check out. Does a great job on individual player breakdowns, as is the case with TJ Stats to my right, to really break down his arsenal, what you need to know. But starting to the left here with Pitch Profiler's graphic, as you guys can see here, he has been absolutely elite this season. When you look at this version of Baseball Savant, basically, everybody, Rico Garcia is such a sneaky reliever, and let me expand as to why that is. Now, Rico, who has a total of 35 innings under his belt at the major league level, doesn't have too much to show, but what he does have to show, especially going to the minor leagues, is something that really separates himself from the rest, in my opinion, and that has been his induced vertical break. And I gotta cue my guy Isaac Rothman, our pitching contributor on the platform, for, you know, crediting here as to how I know this information, because Isaac knows Rico on the back of his hand, and he is one smart individual. Check him out, Isaac Rothman on X, for all of your pitching and advanced information needs. But expand further, everybody, his induced vertical break, or IVB for short, is the second best currently what it would be in all of Major League Baseball at 20.2, only trailing Alex Vesia in that regard. And currently in the minor leagues, he's doing tremendous things with it, even with his 4.4 ERA. It's a bit inflated. The long ball has been a bugaboo for him, as well as his walk rates. Color me shocked. A Mets reliever that has some nasty stuff, but has really fluctuated with the consistency on command of the zone. I feel like I've seen this story before, right? But the reason why we bring it up in the case of Garcia is that knowing that he's only at a 5'9" frame, very small guy. You're thinking Marcus Stroman, you're thinking, a little smaller than a David Robertson, for example. But because of that height, it actually creates great deception. It means that, especially when you look at that fastball in particular that he throws, you're going to be having an insane amount of rise with that fastball. That's really going to be deceptive. So while he's sitting, 93 to 95 on the gun with it, it may very well come off like it's actually going to be 96, 97 range because of how it's coming off from his release point as a 5'9" veteran right-hander. Then you add in the fact that he has a true hammer curveball, meaning that, especially how it comes out the hand, given his frame, he's certainly a guy that can be deceptive to batters, and to a degree lefties in particular. He can really get a good amount of depth and break on that curveball when it is right. He obviously has a changeup in the cutter. The cutter gets a good amount of whiffs as well. But as we move left to right here and show you guys a bit more about the arsenal, again, he's pretty much above league average in everything that we've seen in the minor leagues thus far through TJ Stats' Stuff Plus metrics, which is out of 100, which means if you're 100 on your pitch grade, that means you're league average. If you're below 100, you're below league average. If you're above 100, you're above 100. You're above league average. In the case of Rico Garcia, he's been above 100 on everything. He's been, again, when you look going back to Pitch Profiler's graphic here as well, doing his best Savant impression, you can clearly tell, just how dominant he has been. He just hasn't had nearly the success that he's otherwise been looking for this season. That's why he's had a 1.55 whip in the minor leagues, a 4.45 ERA, a FIP just over 5, which again is not ideal, but this is where you see it, everybody. When you look at the K to walk percentage there at 12.6, that could certainly use some work. A 61% strikeout percentage isn't the most horrendous thing by any stretch, but Rico, this is going to be a fascinating one. This is a guy that, on one hand, absolutely could be a guy that's only up with the Mets for 24 to 48 hours, even if he succeeds, just because the Mets really don't want to utilize him more than that. But there's also a role with Rico Garcia where he actually could become a bit more of a mainstay, and should it be the latter, and should he fall in that category, that's why I'm breaking him down now for each and every one of you. So again, at absolute worst, Rico Garcia gets rocked, gets sent down right away, and that's that. At best, he's a guy that becomes a reliable reliever for us, can be, a Max Kranick light to a degree, where the Mets could throw him in some various situations. I would not trust Rico in too many high leverage. However, I want this man more in low leverage than anything else, especially to start. But he's definitely going to be an interesting veteran right-handed arm, which again has experience going back to the start of the 2019 season when he was initially with the Rockies. He's been with the Giants, the Orioles, and the A's, just to name a few, everybody. So let me know your thoughts on Rico Garcia, if you're for or against Mr. Rico. And I love the name as well. I feel like, this is a guy that could become a quick fan favorite if things go right for him. And if not, then, he's just one of the endless relievers added to the carousel that David Stearns has, famously done over the past number of weeks, and really since he's become Mets president of baseball operations. But going now from talking about Rico Garcia, everybody, let's get into the key news, because we have a lot of news to get into, but let's actually start here with Kodai Senga, and then we'll go on from there in the likes of Sean Manaea, also Francisco Alvarez. We have some positive things to get into on that front. Jesse Winker, Brooks Raley prospects, and then we'll do the same, baby. Let's lock in. So, starting here with Kodai Senga, everybody, without further ado, let's pull up what is the latest with Mr. Kodai. And the good thing, everybody, is the latest with Kodai is very, very positive news. Now, I would like to preface here, the news in the case of Kodai Senga is important. However, it's not news that is going to necessarily, jaw drop you where you're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. What did we just hear in regards to Kodai Senga? As you guys can take a look right here, Kodai was actively throwing at Citi Field this past day, which was great to see. And this came after Kodai Senga had a live BP and faced live batters that we saw there a day prior. So this was this past day on Wednesday. So the day before that, Tuesday or so, is when we saw Senga throw, so that's obviously great to see. Monday or Tuesday, it actually might have been Monday, because the Mets had the rain on Tuesday, and then that's when Mendoza said that he had already faced live batters. So Kodai Senga's ramping up, and that is awesome to see. And when asked more about Kodai Senga post-game this past night, Carlos Mendoza said that he looked good and he threw a lot of pitches. So that's obviously very encouraging. He got a good workload in. It will not be long before Kodai Senga starts his rehab assignment. Obviously, I fully expect there to be an official announcement on that we should find out within this next week. Hopefully, obviously, coming days sooner rather than later would certainly be ideal, everybody. But very encouraging news in the case of Kodai Senga as he continues to ramp up, because this Mets team desperately needs their reinforcements. We know they're going to make external moves, but we don't know to what degree. So it's imperative that at least their in-house options can go back to being what they have been, which have been dominant. And Kodai Senga has been nothing short of exactly that, everybody, that we have seen so far this season. Posting a sub-2 ERA thus far, he was looking like a true Cy Young Award candidate yet again, but after missing a month plus of baseball, it's going to be another sad situation where he's probably not going to have the innings or workload to justify him being in that category by the end of the season. But Kodai Senga, just get this man healthy, get him ramped up, and please get him right, because man, oh man, do we need him. And not only do we need Kodai Senga, everybody, but we need other key pieces to this lineup that are missing, both offensively and then on the rotation end, including the Simone Southpaw and Sean Manaea. So as we continue to have this discussion, everybody, let's go on and break down what is happening with the following, that being in the Simone Southpaw. Because Sean Manaea, everybody, we got positive news. Here is what Sean did this past night there in his latest rehab outing with the Brooklyn Cyclones. Not Brooklyn Cyclones, I apologize, the Rebel Ponies there of AA. And the reason as to why Sean Manaea is back in a rehab outing is because, again, he had to get shut down for, 48 hours or so that we saw after finding that loose body in his elbow. Got a cortisone shot, and he'll be pitching with it all season long. He'll likely have surgery in the offseason. This is a normal thing, and this is not like a too concerning thing. You just have to hope that in the case of the loose body, that it doesn't become a constant irritation issue throughout the course of the season, and that you don't need to throw, endless cortisone shots. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know if it's one of those things you just do once and that's that, or if you consistently do it. All I got to tell you, I feel like you just do it every once in a while in the case of the cortisone shots. I do know that going back to, and this is completely random, just hear me out, Xander Bogaerts, leading up to him signing with the Padres specifically, and then signing with the Padres, have been dealing with wrist issues for a number of years. And what I heard through the industry, especially through my connections over there, and again, don't ask why, just know I have them, is the fact that we saw someone like Xander taking multiple cortisone shots throughout the course of the season, which I found interesting. So regardless, Sean Manaea had himself a good workload here, and it's notable. He went 3+ innings of 60-pitch baseball. Very important, because Sean Manaea is going to be pitching one more rehab outing, as much as that frustrates us to say, everybody. His next rehab start will likely be Tuesday of next week, given weather, given alignments with the minor leagues, among other things, and given where he needs to pitch. So Sean Manaea will not return to this Mets rotation until absolute earliest end of next week there, once we basically hit right around the All-Star break. So when you kind of bear that in mind, it makes it a bit difficult to see Sean Manaea. Obviously, I don't see Manaea getting more than actually one start before the All-Star break at this current rate. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how things appear to be looking at this very moment. He did give up 2 earned runs, had 3 strikeouts, but again, you're not nearly as concerned about the results for Sean Manaea here as you are about his health and his pitch count. And to see him go 60 pitches is obviously an encouraging thing, but Sean Manaea, due to that loose body in his elbow, is still a little bit of a ways away before actually returning to this Mets team. So we're still at least, a week to 10 days out, and we'll see from there when he's going to return to this ball club and finally be the Simone Southpaw that this Mets team desperately needs him to be for their rotation. But to go from talking about Sean Manaea on the pitching end, let's go now to talk about someone on the offensive end, because someone offensively who's been looking absolutely fantastic since being sent down is El Troll and Francisco Alvarez, everybody. I think it's a great time for us to have a quick discussion on Alvarez, what he's doing so right in the minor leagues thus far, and how long it might be before we see him actually back at the major league level. Because Francisco Alvarez, in just, mind you, 3 games thus far since being sent down, you could technically say 4 because he started a game but then exited after the first inning because of heat exhaustion. And no, I'm not exaggerating. When we had that ridiculous heat wave on the East Coast a week or so ago, Alvarez was not feeling it at all, and especially not just being a catcher, having to deal with the gear, but to be in there full game the entire time, batting and catching, that's a lot to handle. So Alvarez, after being pulled quickly in that game 1 one, they grounded into a double play. Game 2, hits himself a ding-dong. I believe he hit a 3-run shot, as I'm showing you guys the 3 separate home runs he's hit over his past 3 calendar games. Game 2, he hit himself a nice shot as well. I believe it was a solo bomb. And then this past night, hit himself a 430-foot bomb, a 3-run shot. So Francisco Alvarez, one thing that's very impressive about these home runs, they're all being pulled for the most part. They're either being pulled far left or they're being at absolute worst dead center. No more of this opposite field nonsense. And on top of it all, everybody, Francisco Alvarez is having more of his true follow through of his swing, similar of that power swing we've seen in the past that's been more threatening versus what we've seen Alvarez have in the more compact swing where he's two-handing things, and it's just a little bit different of a follow-through that he worked on when he was working in a hitting lab in Atlanta that JD Martinez recommended to him before starting the 2025 season. But Alvarez, who's just 2 seasons removed from over 20 home runs as a 21-year-old, Eric Chavez kind of threw a wrench his way and made him deviate away from that hitting approach, saying it wouldn't be sustainable, how it's not good. And I know he was trying to encourage him, but I don't think that was the best for Alvarez in his development, who's obviously fluctuating his confidence and his ability as not only a young player, but also bear in mind the mental aspect of not only going through early highs and lows offensively and defensively as drastic as he has, but now as a new father as well, at the young age of 23. And I can certainly relate to this as a young father myself. I can only imagine what is going through Alvarez's mentality on that front, trying to balance being a dad now while being a full-time athlete. I'm just a schmuck that talks about baseball players like Albie for a living, and it's enough to try to balance that as is while being a full-time dad. So in the case of Alvarez, I'm really curious to see what his mentality is like, or hear rather, but right now it's been great to see him swing the bat as well as he is, and he's hitting, no doubters. So yes, context, it's AAA, it's minor leagues. It doesn't mean it's going to attribute to the same results at the major league level, but Alvarez needs to perform while he's down there, and he's doing exactly that. If he can keep the bat up, that's great. Now all we need to see is that defense get back to being what it was. And it's not just stronger framing, but stronger blocking ability. I mean, Alvarez became a clear liability at times where he was just not getting in front of baseballs the way that he otherwise should. So Alvarez, obviously, I would like to see more work done for him, and I fully expect him to be in the minor leagues until at least sometime post All-Star break. I don't see him being called up sooner. If he is, then awesome. That means he really proved his worth to get the quick call up. But at the same time, if you're the Mets, why send down Alvarez at this point in the year and not have him down until at least the All-Star break ends? I think that just makes almost too much sense, but maybe that's why I'm going to be wrong in the end. We'll see. But guys, let me know your thoughts about Francisco Alvarez in the comments down below. One, are you impressed with his slight swing adjustments that you guys noticed? Because it's clear as day that he has more of that power threat in his swing right now. It's not the same follow through that he had earlier this season, nor the same stance. And secondly, when do you expect Alvarez to actually return to this Mets team? Obviously, we fully expect him to return this season, so it's a matter of when, not necessarily if. But going on now, everybody, from talking about Mr. Francisco Alvarez, let's now get into breaking down what is happening for Brooks Raley, because we have really positive updates to get into on Brooks Raley that I'm going to share with each and every one of you. And as you guys can see here from the latest highlight reel, and this might not be his last game, but it's one of the games that he had where he was pitching, rehabbing the minor leagues. Guys, let's get into Brooks Raley, because we got a positive breakdown for each and every one of you on that front, which I'm really, really happy to get into. Because in case you guys don't know, if you haven't been a follower of the platform, since Brooks Raley was acquired in a 1-for-1 trade for Kashawn Askew, very crafty reliever that I'm sure the Rays are going to get the best out of 2 seasons ago, 2.5 years ago now, under the Billy Upper regime. Brooks Raley was fantastic in his 2023 season with the Mets when everything else otherwise sadly went wrong. But Raley, we saw last year, had 8 scoreless outings before going down with reconstructive Tommy John surgery, and now working his way back to the veteran southpaw at the young age of 36 is looking like he's locked and loaded and ready to go. Raley, I'm not exactly sure how much more look they're going to give him in the minor leagues. They have to ramp him all the way up, and they're going to have him get in Syracuse because he's not there yet, but he continues to look fantastic at every level he's been at right now. 5.2 innings of 4 hits, 0 walks, 0 earned run ball, 10 strikeouts. And the most impressive thing about Raley's entire rehab is that every single outing for the most part has been the same. He's either given up 1 hit and had 2 strikeouts, or no hit. And that's been the case every single time out there. His latest outing, he just went over one scoreless there with a pair of strikeouts without a problem there that we saw at the AA level, if I'm not mistaken. So Brooks Raley, to say we need this man back in this bullpen is an understatement. The Mets have been in dire need of reinforcements and quality in their bullpen, and Raley, again, is such a quality lefty option for the Mets to consider. He has an array of pitches that I really like as well. Isn't overly dominant with the velocity, but also isn't as much of a soft tosser to a degree as some others out there that the Mets may consider. But really, getting him back is going to be massive. I look forward to seeing him back in this bullpen, and I think that this is going to be a key weapon that the Mets can hopefully evaluate at least for a couple of weeks before the trade deadline and get a greater grasp as to what they should do by the deadline when looking for quality options. Should they find themselves going solely after, just kind of, mid-tier guys? Should they go after the big guns and say Aroldis Chapman for a true high leverage option, or someone else in between there? That is something that we're going to break down more, but how Raley performs and when he returns to this team will kind of be indicative on giving the Mets a greater idea as to what they should be doing leading up to that big trade deadline day. But Brooks Raley, everybody, very happy to see him performing the way that he has. And now to continue this discussion, let's not just talk about Brooks Raley, everybody. Let's also talk about Jesse Winker, because as I said, we do have a positive on the Jesse Winker front, everybody. If you guys did not see from this past night, he was not the only man that was, Sean Manaea was not the only man that was not the only one. They're playing for the AA Rummel Ponies and Rehab. It wasn't just him, everybody. It was also Mr. Jesse Winker. What did Jesse Winker do, everybody, in his rehab? Jesse Winker does what he does best, and that's by hitting bombs. This is at least Jesse Winker's second home run of his rehab stint, because beforehand, I know he hit a tank, he just fell short of a tank there the other day for the Brooklyn Cyclones. I think it was like a 2-run double or so opposite field, but Winker hits that bomb to the right. Love to see it, everybody. Jesse is getting very close to returning to this Mets team in that DH spot. Really not much more that he has to do now, because it's not like the Mets are going to really give him much of any outfield reps. You really don't want to do that in the case of Jesse, considering the fact that he went down with injury after literally having one single game and like 1 or 2 innings in the outfield. So Jesse Winker, looking forward to having him back. I'm not just looking forward to the quality bat with regards to scoring position when he's right, but I'm really looking forward to Jesse Winker and the moxie and the vibes that he brings to this club. It's tremendous clubhouse vibes. It's tremendous dugout vibes. And this is a team that absolutely needs more positive vibes the way that Jesse Winker inevitably will bring back to this Mets club. He's a villain for opposing teams. He's perfect when he's on your squad. Jesse Winker is here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for the Mets here in the second half. Expect Winker to be activated sooner rather than later for this New York Metropolitan team. But all right, guys, we talked about Kodai Senga. We talked about Sean Manaea. We talked about Francisco Alvarez. We talked about Jesse Winker, and we talked about Brooks Raley. So what else is there to talk about, everybody? Well, there are couple things, and one I'm going to show you guys is some quick comments from Sean Manaea talking about how he's feeling in his rehab, and then we're going to get into the prospect report before we're getting out of here.
That mound, you ready to go back to New York?
Yeah, I felt, results aside, I just felt good enough. It's I think what, been like 10 days or something like that. So it was nice to get back out there. But yeah, as of right now, I feel good. So hopefully the next step is big league mound.
You're walking off that mound. You ready to go back to New York?
Yeah, I felt.
With tough times they're going through right now, I'm sure it really hurts to watch them.
Yeah, it's it's the worst. I hate being on the sidelines. I know everyone's grinding up there, so I've been trying everything I can to get back. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and just helping this team anyway.
Me too, Sean. Me too. We're all looking for the Simone Southpaw returning this Metropolitan team. But last but not least, everybody, let me break down what's happening on the prospect front, because there are some really good things happening on the prospect front. And let's just cut right to the chase, and let's just start here what you guys are going to see, as long as I can pull this up properly. Here we go, everybody. As you guys can see, Carson Bench, baby. What do I love? I love Carson Bench hitting ding-dongs in Double-A. Mets 2024 first-round pick. Sayonara. See you later. It's out of here. Getting yourself a nice Oppo bomb as Carson Bench to kickstart his now Double-A career. Bench, who is raking with a 300 average, north of a 900 OPS or so that we saw originally for Brooklyn Cyclones, and Haye got moved up over the past 2 weeks there, along with Jacob Reimer, in which Reimer has been raking as well. And this Double-A team is nasty. They already got 50-plus wins on this season, guys. Let's just actually start with the Rumble Ponies, and then we will go down to Brooklyn. We'll go down to St. Lucie, and we'll finish there with the Syracuse Mets. But basically every team in the Mets affiliate this past day had a doubleheader. Just fair warning, everybody, because when we talk about specifically the Rummel Ponies, they had themselves 2 games, and 1 game they lost 5-3, and in the game that they lost, Nick Morabito hit his 4th home run of the year. Morabito's batting 300 with an 818 OPS. He's a dog. Love Nick Morabito. He's been so much fun to watch. I'm really, really big fan of his, and he steals bags like an absolute demon too. So there's a lot of qualities to like about Nick Morabito and his game right now. True gamer, who was the Mets minor league player of the year last year. Ryan Clifford had a hit. Jacob Reimer had a hit. He was looking good. LaRusso had a hit as well, but that's all she wrote. And pitching-wise, Sean Manaea went his 3 innings in this one. Parsons gave up a pair. Brooks Raley went 1 shutty with the 2 strikeouts. And Ryan Lambert had another dominant outing. Ryan Lambert, Mets drafted just over a year ago or so. Flamethrowing right-hander there. Touches easily triple digits. 2.5 ERA thus far that we have seen since being moved up from the Cyclones to the Rummel Ponies. And the Rummel Ponies' second game, they did in fact win big time, 6-0. And the Rummel Ponies are now 50-25 on the season. Very impressive for them. And pitching-wise, Joander Suarez went 6 shutty. Move him back up to Syracuse is what I got to say about that. 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, 3.29 ERA. Anthony Nunez won 1 scoreless inning with a 2.08 ERA. He's been great since being moved up there from the Cyclones as well. When we expand further offensively, Jesse Winker had the nice 3 RBI thanks to the 3-run ding-dong. Bench with his first home run there. He's already at 273 average and 884 OPS, which is awesome. And that's pretty much all she wrote there on the offensive end. Outside of Wyatt Young had a very good game as well. We saw Wyatt Young 2 for 3 at second base. He's been good. Not his best, as good as last season, but Wyatt Young's been a pretty good plate setter of a player, either at the bottom of your lap or right there at the tip of your top. But as we continue now, guys, let's get into the Brooklyn Cyclones, because the Brooklyn Cyclones, they lost one of their games there that we saw by a final score of 5-3 against the Renegades. But Brooklyn's well over already 50 games victories. They have 53 currently, which is insane for the Cyclones. And offensively, we saw guys like AJ Ewing continue to look great. 1 for 4, 299 average, 814 OPS. Jesus Baez didn't have anything to show by a pair of walks. We love Jesus Baez, his offense and his defense. Eli Serrano had a couple RBIs. Love to see that. Just under 800 OPS. Nothing for my guy Suero, but that's okay. De Los Santos, big game for him. 3 for 3, but he's batting not even the Mendoza line. And Dome got rocked. He gave up 5 runs before earned there that we saw in 1.2 innings. Ramon Gomez went 1 scoreless inning, which is positive. The flamethrowing right-hander for the Mets, who literally topped out like at 104.5 this year. And the second game they had, they actually lost 2-0. So nothing positive. Talk about what the Brooklyn Cyclones here, unfortunately, other than a Colin Houck single and a Boston Barrows single. That ain't going to move the needle for me. Watson won 5 innings of 2 earned run baseball. Beck won 1 shutty. And now let's get to the St. Lucie Mets, where the St. Lucie Mets in their ball game, everybody. This was one of the few that wasn't a doubleheader because they're in sunny Florida. They lost 7-6 to, the Tortugas. I'm going to probably butcher that, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here. On the offensive end, what were the notables in this one? Not a whole lot, if I'm being honest. Simone Juan hit his 8th double of the year. That was nice. He still has a bit more developing to do. Rosalie hit his 5th double. Willett hit his 11th double, and that's really all she wrote. Pitching-wise, not a whole lot to break down there, so let's get right to the Syracuse Mets, where Syracuse won one of their doubleheaders against the Red Sox by a final score of 5-2. That included Alvarez's home run. That also included Pablo Reyes having himself a nice productive day with an RBI that we saw there. His third home run already, Pablo Reyes, that we've seen in the minor leagues. Love to see that. Drew Gilbert hit himself a bomb as well. Shout out to Drew, his 7th home run of the season. Has a lot more work to do. VR had a multi-hit game that we saw. Not Jonathan, but this time David. Luis Angel Acuna went over in this one. Chris Stavensky was the spot starter. Not great. Shane Pintaro. Not Shane Pintaro. Is it Shane? Yeah, regardless, Pintaro. Or is it Shane or Anthony? I'm always butchering this one. Jonathan. Wow. Oh, yeah, you swing and you miss, Wardy. What's going on here? Pintaro went too shutty as a reliever, which is notable because the Mets are utilizing Pintaro more as a reliever option. Merriweather, who's been great, since the Mets claimed from the Cubs earlier this year, 1.59 ERA in the minor leagues, went too shutty as well. And Ross won 1.2 scrolls, which is also great because he's looked tremendous too with 2.08 ERA. So that's what you got from the Syracuse Mets in their one game. And then in their other game, they got curb stomped 11-1. And the key standouts here were really nothing. Jose Azcar's back with the Mets, if you guys don't know, so he's been chilling the farm there back in center. The Mets have a lot of pieces that, wouldn't be terrible at the major leagues, but are fringe major leaguers at best, and that's about it. Pitching wise in this one, Tyler Zuber was a spot starter, gave up a pair of runs. Moreno got rocked 2 innings, 6 earned runs. Garza gave up an earned run there in 1.2 innings. And that's all she wrote, everybody. So that is going to do it for our latest prospect report and our latest Big Mets update segment. I hope you guys found yourself enjoying our latest breakdown on all things Mets, news, rumors, and a whole lot more. Be on the lookout as we will have plenty of content dropping later on today, that being July 3rd. I'll be live right around 7 p.m. Eastern or so, live in the Playback app. Head over to playback.tv/WardyNYM. We have almost 400 members already. You guys can check it out. It's free to join. All you need is an MLB TV subscription. Again, it's linked down below in the description of this video for you guys to check out. And I'm going to be live there if you have an MLB TV subscription, so you can watch the Mets game live in real time and sync with your guy Wardy. But it won't just be me. I'll also be live with Draft Deck Mark, that many of you guys know, Mark Lino, and Mike from Stark Raven Sports, who is my good buddy as well, and my editor for the Wardy MLB YouTube channel. So guys, make sure to check it out. We'll be live on YouTube as well in the Playback app. We might not be live on YouTube for the entirety of the ball game, but we will most certainly be live for the entirety of the ball game, more than likely, in the Playback app. So make sure to check us out on those respective platforms. Thank you guys kindly for that, everybody. And again, just thank you guys so much for watching our latest Big Mets update segment. Let me know all your key takeaways in the comments down below from what we broke down, and be on the lookout not only for the watch party, but our post-game coverage and all the content that's dropping throughout the week, including a New York Post Sports YouTube segment where I will be going at it, not necessarily a heavy debate, but having a back and forth, a nice conversation with a Yankees content creator, going over a bit of that Subway Series preview as well. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out, folks.